Hello, YouTube, and welcome in to Eliza with a Therapist. I apologize for the mix-up on my announcement of which episode it is. Hopefully I'm saying this correctly. This is part 8. I am so glad that you've made it through this playthrough up until this point. There's been a lot of engagement on these videos in the comments and stuff, and I'm really grateful for that. Thanks for sharing your thoughts on things as you watch this playthrough, and thanks for giving this a shot. I hope you'll give my other playthroughs a shot if you haven't seen them. This has been a really cool experience, and I imagine that today is going to be an excellent episode as well. So strap in, do what you got to do to take care of yourself if we hit anything that's particularly sensitive for you, and let's rock. This morning, Ray looks a little down. It's noticeable since she's usually so cheerful.
Good morning, Evelyn. There are lemon bars in the kitchen.
Thanks. Did something happen?
Oh, it's nothing big. Apparently some famous writer I never heard of wrote an essay about how Eliza is bad because it represents the mechanization of humanity or something.
Ooh, this is going to be interesting.
I should be used to it. We're a pretty big target, right?
Everything I talked about in the last episode's in play here. These folks have essentially been taught to drink the corporate Kool-Aid, and that anybody that expresses any kind of dissent about what Eliza is capable of is targeting us rather than holding us accountable.
Still, it gets on my nerves.
Also, you just have to be willing to criticize the stuff that you do. Like, if you're not willing to be critical about what you do, and you just fanboy, fangirl, fan person it no matter what, that's not a good sign. If you're ever in a position where you basically you have to fanboy something or else, it's a red flag. It's very important to be critical about your products, especially if you're interfacing with humans.
We work hard to build something with value, and then some self-styled intellectual gadfly comes along and just goes, actually, that's bad. You guys are ruining society.
Some self-styled intellectual gadfly comes along. That's kind of what we all are.
To guys like him, everything's a doom and gloom scenario. The people we're helping, that somehow doesn't count. This kind of thinking never bothers you?
Oh, your kind of thinking bothers me. The black and white thinking bothers me. There can be multiple things true at the same time here. You can have great intentions and believe in what Eliza is capable of and is doing. And yes, we can acknowledge that there are people who might say that Eliza is helping them and that it is better than nothing. There are people that would say that. That's okay. And if a person says, you know what, even if I know that I'm talking to an AI, it's nice to get my ideas out there and have something acknowledge it, that's fine. There is utility to that. But you can't just say it's all good and then go la 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 to any kind of criticism. The kind of thinking that bothers me is the kind of thinking that says anything that attempts to hold me accountable or provides a voice that I don't agree with is bad and wrong and fake and problematic and needs to go. That's not the kind of thinking I want. If we're legitimately trying to create something that is going to help people, there needs to be a high standard of rigor around it. There needs to be ethical considerations, moral considerations. And so if this person is expressing an opinion about this service to whatever extent they are, like, they're welcome to do that. And if the product that we have is good and we can stand by it, then his critique of it's not going to matter. If the product we have is potentially in parts what he says it is, well, then we need to do better. And we need to actually look inward and ask ourselves if there is some truth to that feedback that we can make good on and fix. So I don't have a problem with that kind of thinking. I have a problem with the kind of thinking that just sips corporate Kool-Aid like it's the best thing ever with absolutely no awareness of the nutrition facts.
I guess I'll have to read it.
There was this quote from someone who worked on Eliza who turned into a big critic. Nora something.
Uh-oh.
Did you work with her?
Oh, yeah. We worked pretty closely.
Yeah? What's she like?
I could go two different directions on this. And, okay. So we're dealing right now with a heavily steeped in bias Ray. So Ray has already essentially described what Nora had to say as an affront to the company and very clearly has a bias in the direction of Eliza. So if she's asking what she's like, I might be a bit hesitant to answer that question because I don't know that that's a question that comes from genuine curiosity so much as it is her trying to figure out more ways to fuel her story or get some context around the narrative she's constructing. If I'm Evelyn here, I might say something along the lines of, you'd have to get to know her yourself. I'm not really comfortable describing her. I worked with her a while ago, but she could be different now. I don't want to give you information that may be inaccurate. That would be a good way to deflect that. I mean, she may be genuinely trying to figure out what Nora's like in order to understand the context. And if you wanted to be like, I'm curious why you want to know this. But she's in a bit of a compromised position around this question, so I would be very careful to answer that.
I'm curious how you go from building something to turning around and disparaging it publicly like that.
Oh, honey. Because things go off the rails. People sink their capitalist fingers into it, and it turns into a disaster. Look at video games.
She's an artist and musician now.
I'm gonna... Oh, God, there's so much to say here. I'm gonna use this, I guess, as a chance to talk about something that's kind of a personal pet peeve of mine that I think is actually facilitated a lot by social media and just the general way we structure conversations anymore in a technological and internet age. Somewhere down the line, we got into a position where changing your opinion is worse than holding firm on the wrong position. Where if a person decides to change their mind on something because they get more information about it or they have a certain experience or they whatever, the person goes, you know what, maybe that's not great. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe I don't like the direction it's gone. That somehow, and so thus I'm going to actually, my opinion has changed on this. I'm actually more open to this idea because of the experiences I've had with this. That's worse than holding on to something even if it's in violation to your emerging values. Where people go, well, you're such a flip-flopper. How could you not stay steadfast in your views? Hold the line. Don't let those damn you-know-whos come in and change your mind on stuff. When it's like, the reason that perhaps Nora switched her position here is because she saw where it went. She doesn't agree with it anymore. It went in a direction that she never intended for it to go. Like, the whole purpose of research is that you are constantly testing things so that you change your approach. If we held on to that kind of approach with things like medicine, we'd still be bloodletting when people get sick. Instead of developing all these cool means of modern medicine that we have in order to help people survive the environment. This happens with social movements. This happens with everything. It's like, maybe it's okay to entertain the idea that being gay is not bad. It's not amoral. Like, okay, yeah, cool. You know what? I've met a few gay people. I've paid attention. Okay, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not what I was afraid of. And then there are literally people that will go, you flip-flopper. How could you change your mind on that? And I'm sad for people like that. So Evelyn, in this case, having to watch Ray say, I can't believe that somebody would change their mind on something. It's a real bummer, because it's missing a wonderful opportunity to have a conversation about how you can change your opinion based on new info. And once you get, like, you work with what info you have. Ray seems disinterested in learning more about these things and seems more interested in trying to hold on deeply to the narrative she already has about Eliza. And that's not good. For her, for anyone.
She used to be really shy and reserved, but lately she's become a lot more outgoing. Even back then, though, she had a pretty strong idea of what was right and what was wrong, and sometimes she'd clash with management. She left Skanda at some point after I did. Maybe the battles took their toll, or she wasn't able to win enough of them. These days she focuses on electronic art and music and activism. I think she's pretty popular, at least in those circles.
Well, it must be nice to have the ability to live that way.
Ray.
What about Damien? Do you think it would be fair to his memory to abandon work on Eliza, to give up on his dream?
Whoa! Whoa! Let's not use the dead to drive our agenda here, Ray. Whoa. 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 Okay, so in DrMick game sessions with a therapist fashion, we're gonna take a 2x4 to the head like this, and we're gonna walk it back, and we're gonna ask ourselves, how might a person get to a point where she would throw Damien out there like that, which just feels wildly inappropriate to the context and the situation. Like, so we pause, we stop, and we go, why? Where compels you to say that? Now, I don't know that I would hold Evelyn to a standard of saying that, though if she did, I would be very impressed. This is what happens. Truly. Like, and anybody who's been in this kind of like corporate situation knows what I'm about to talk about. This is what happens when people are either scaffolded into, or willingly, or both, weave their company and their work and their brand into their identity. Ray is so deeply invested in Skanda and Eliza, such that she probably has built some degree of her identity as a professional, maybe even as a person, around this company. She believes in the corporate propaganda and thinks that this is making a real difference. And so she starts to see herself as an extension of Skanda and Eliza. So when she reads a expose from a famous writer that adds critique to what Eliza and Skanda are doing, Ray doesn't just see it as a critique on the company. She sees it as a critique on her. She also sees it as a critique on other people at the company, because she's projecting that level of importance and identity onto them. So now it's, you're not attacking the product, you're not holding the company accountable, you're attacking me. Which is, in a lot of ways, what corporate overlord want from the workforce, is to feel a sense of personalization for the company, because then you get activated and people will go out and fight battles and wars for you, and you don't even have to push them to do it. So when she sees this now, she's having this dissonant experience. I have now seen somebody famous and respected say something about something I so deeply hold dear, and I don't know what to do about that. I am presented with either the opportunity to change my perspective on Skanda and Eliza, which would be immensely difficult for me to do given how much cost sunk I have into this, or I entertain, or I fight back, or I say that couldn't possibly be true. Let me assimilate and create a narrative that says, no, 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 no. That person's a bullshitter. That person doesn't understand. And that person's out to get us and has a target on our backs. And I, for one, am not going to stand for that. So I'm going to throw everything but the kitchen sink out as a means to preserve that. That's how you get a person into this position. Doesn't mean that we have to be okay with it. But, you know, yeah, my reaction is similar to what a lot of yours probably was on this, which is, are you kidding me? You're going to throw Damien on here on this? Did you even know him? But that's why. That's what we're dealing with.
Wouldn't he want these mental health tools accessible to everyone?
It's just not fair. It's not fair to pull somebody who's dead and can't speak up for themselves into a conversation like this as a means to try to emotionally pull Evelyn onto her side. It is manipulative in a not good way. And if I'm Evelyn, I'm like, you don't get to do that. You could talk about your frustrations. You could talk about what you want, but don't bring Damien into this. You don't get to speak on his behalf. Nobody gets to speak on Damien's behalf, and he's dead, so he can't speak on his behalf. So his name is irrelevant right now.
How do you know about that?
The other day, I was looking at more of your papers, the ones from when you were at the university, and clicking on the links to your co-author sites. That's when I saw Damien's page. It didn't have much information on it, but I understand a little better why... I'm sorry, Evelyn. It's just that all of us, you and me and Damien and even Nora, too, we all worked hard to make something with the intention of making the world a better place.
Are you one of us? I mean, I guess maybe I don't really understand Ray's history with the company, but my sense that Ray is just a proxy. Like, she wasn't writing the code. She wasn't in the trenches developing the AI. Again, this is the personalization of the company coming out here.
And the thanks we get is people talking in big generalizations about how we're ruining everything. That's what bothers me.
Ray, people are allowed to be critical of Eliza. They should be critical of Eliza. If it is this big important thing that we want it to be, it needs to stand up to scrutiny. Like, his paper is a call to be better. It's not an attack. So we're not entitled to anything from the general populace. This is actually what drives me nuts about corporations, and particularly shareholders, is the sense of entitlement. Applebee's exists, thus you should eat there. How dare you not eat at Applebee's? We're entitled to your business. No, you're not. You could do better. People aren't eating at your restaurant, make better food. If people aren't accessing your care via Eliza and they're giving it bad feedback, use that feedback to make it better. If food critics are coming into your restaurant and saying, you know, this is not particularly great, that is an opportunity for you to make an adjustment. But these things absolutely, like, we are not entitled to the general populace thanking us for what it is we're doing here. People are going to have differing opinions on what this has to offer, and we need to listen to those. Because that's how we make this thing better if we're going to make it what we want it to be. So, I mean, her passion comes from an important space, but seeing this type of criticism as an attack, This kind of thing is what gets people polarized. It gets them in their corners, fighting with each other for reasons they don't need to be fighting with each other. That writer and Ray want the same thing, most likely, which is for this to be a good, awesome, amazing product. And that person is saying, you know what? It isn't that right now. And that's a problem. And I agree. I, Dr. Mick, agree. It's fascinating stuff, man. It's really interesting to watch how she's processing all of this info.
Is Eliza perfect? No. No intervention is perfect. But we have to try, don't we? The world is in a full-on mental health crisis, and this is one of the tools we have in our toolkit to address it. A promising one we should develop to its fullest potential. I'm not some wild-eyed idealist about this. I know it's not magic that'll solve everything. But can you see that most people don't have the luxury of turning their backs to the system? Think about the clients you've met as a proxy. Would you tell them to not take the medications that help them be functional because the pharmaceutical industry has questionable ethics sometimes?
Oh, my God. Oh, no. Come on. Oh. This is so frustrating. It's not, that's not the point. That's not the point. He's missing the point entirely. People can take medications that are helpful to them, and you can still hold the pharmaceutical industry accountable to a higher standard. These things don't exist in tandem no matter what. It's not like, yeah, well, these medications are helpful, so let's enable problematic systems. That's just how they are. The problematic system is what has produced this useful medication. No. Yeah, I could still take Advil for my headache and be pissed off about the way that pharmaceutical companies go about their business. And you are correct, Shadow, that I appreciate you saying that, because I was about to also say that she's also just inadvertently indicated that Skanda has questionable ethics. Like, she drew a parallel to the pharmaceutical industry and is essentially saying, would you tell them not to engage in the interventions of Eliza because Skanda Corporation has questionable ethics sometimes? That's not how it works. She's getting very black and white about this. We're seeing a lot of what are called cognitive distortions. We're seeing a lot of black and white thinking, overgeneralization, and personalization here. Like, these three things are contributing to her. I mean, she can be emotional about all this. I'm not trying to take her emotion away. But the way she's processing this and bringing it to Evelyn is not helpful for her or anyone.
Would you tell them to stop coming to therapy because what they should really be doing is completely changing the way our society is structured?
It's both. It's both. Society can be structured in such a way that it oppresses a whole shitload of people and creates lots of problems. And therapy is still something that can be helpful for them. Like, she's making these false equivalencies.
Sorry, I'm ranting.
You are, because you're defensive about the way in which you've personalized Skanda.
I'd rather do something that can help people here and now, even if it ends up being a small step.
small step.
For some reason, those words echo in my head. A small
Eliza
step.
helped me, you know? It really did. I was one of the first clients. Originally, I was just supposed to be testing it, but
Okay, now we're really getting somewhere.
I remember once I was talking about my brother and how much anguish he was causing me and my family. And listening to myself, I realized just how many expectations we had for him, sometimes unspoken expectations. Ever since then, I've been thinking about that, how the story was always about how he failed us. But what if we failed my brother too? I guess what I mean is, sometimes when we talk out loud and give voice to our problems, we can hear ourselves too.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. Eliza didn't do shit. You could have talked to anything. You could have talked to the wall. If you heard yourself, hearing yourself say that out loud and then making that awareness verbal made a difference for you, then boom, there it is. Fantastic. Attributing that to Eliza is a bit misguided. She's associated Eliza with that own inductive process. Like, yes, there are really the wall won't keep your data, right? There are great conversations to be had with therapists who possess a level of expertise in order to cut deeper into that, to get into, well, where do you think those expectations came from? Who perpetuates those expectations? What's that been like for you? How is it to why? Like, I mean, there's all these cool things that you can get into as a therapist with that. So I totally appreciate that she found value in having that space to talk. And for some people, having the space to just talk at their therapist is enough. Other people need more intervention from it. And I even appreciate that she has some level of association with that to being Eliza, because she's like, well, I would have never thought to do that or open up about that unless I had this space that was specifically defined for me to do it. But that can't be, we don't want to take your subjective experience and then inductively process what Eliza is for society at large. That's where this gets, you're starting to push back on accountability systems. Like, wouldn't you want to know that the thing that you value so dearly is in tune and being held accountable in a way that's not going to harm people? I would.
That's why I won't give up on this approach, no matter what anyone says. Pundits, critics, former employees, even you, Evelyn.
Cool. So you've drawn your line in the sand. I feel very sorry for you for that. Nobody's asking you to do that. People are just asking you to be mindful about it.
I'll understand if you don't want to work on Eliza anymore for whatever reason. But I think what you created has value. And I'm going to continue to do what I can to make it accessible to those who might benefit from it.
Arthur Morgan, thank you for the 2 subs. Ray takes a deep breath and smiles.
Don't mind me.
I won't.
You should get to your session.
I will happily do that. By now, I'm slightly late for the next session. Hopefully the client doesn't mind. Who we got? Who will it be? Welcome back, Holiday. Welcome back.
Hello, Holiday. It's nice to see you again.
This is a pretty comfortable chair, you know that? Wouldn't mind having a chair like this in my place.
Hey, this is not a bad question.
How have you been since our last session?
Great. I ask that question all the time.
Oh, well, I tried, Eliza. I tried. I asked about the medication for Panza, whatever it's called. I went to the pharmacy and they said, that'll be $162. And I said, I don't have $162. I said, is there a generic? And they said, there's no generic of this, but there's another drug that they do make the generic of that's similar to this one. But I don't have a prescription for that.
Oh, boy.
Do you know anything about that?
Oh, I can't wait to see what Eliza has to say about this.
I'm sorry to hear you had a difficult time.
Yeah, I mean, my reaction would have been more something like, that sounds frustrating. Or asking, like, well, you know, I don't even know what, I mean, because I don't deal with medication, like, be like, yeah, that sounds frustrating. Did you talk to the prescribing physician about it? Is there something that would make it better?
Is there something that would make it better?
The medical procedures they can do now are out of this world, you know that? I was talking to someone who told me she has wires in her brain. Wires in her brain. Would you let them do that? I'd be worried about them changing the way I think. It's for essential tremors. That's what she said. It helps her not shake so much. There's always something gets you. Did you ever think about what you might have been in a previous life? I know you're a therapist now, but maybe in the past you were a gardener tending to the plants.
Oh, God, is she talking to me or is she talking to Eliza? Her asking those questions about me, if it was me, I don't think are a problem. Like, yeah, I haven't thought about it much. Like, I'd be okay with answering that question. I assume it's something you're thinking about. You can ask your therapist questions like this. It's okay. If they deflect them or say I'm not comfortable answering that, then cool. But
That's what it feels like to me. You like to let things grow. There's an energy there. It isn't so different from having a conversation with someone whose company you enjoy. Not that I believe in all that, you know. Everyone has got a different philosophy. Philosophy, that's not something I talk about much. I'd like to write a book one day. A book about things I've seen over the years. Think anyone would read a book I wrote?
well, sure, why not?
I'm just kidding. I don't think I could write a book. It's a lot of work.
It is indeed.
Plus, it takes a certain kind of mind. You know, a mind to create. Not everyone is dedicated enough to do that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
There's a writer who lives on my floor. Most of the time, he looks miserable. Sometimes he comes over for a cup of herbal tea, cinnamon, apple, chamomile, helps him calm down. I think he's maybe lived in the building the longest after me, of course. He doesn't say much. His head is in the clouds all the time. He's always thinking about what sentence to write next. There's not a lot of people who really want to talk, you know? Not in this city, nope. People say hello and move on. It's a very withdrawn set here.
I wouldn't be saying anything. I'm clicking through this because I would not be saying anything to her. I'd just be letting her talk. I don't feel any kind of need to jump in and intervening with the things she's saying. Because passively what she's saying here, I think, is it's just nice to talk to somebody. And I like that. And I get something out of that.
You don't say much either, but I like talking to you.
Cool.
Feels like you're listening to me. I like that. I like that.
I'm glad you like it.
Eliza has no idea what to do. I mean, the question I may ask is like, is there... It would be something along these lines of, is there something specific that you want to make sure we focus on today, or is today a day where it just feels good to talk to me? That's probably what I would ask here.
While you're here, is there anything else you'd like to discuss?
There was a man on the bus with a guitar yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
You're not supposed to play guitar on the bus. Well, you're not supposed to play anything on the bus, but he was. Maybe the operator didn't think he was bothering anyone, or maybe she didn't care. I've noticed more bus operators seem like they don't care anymore lately. Anyway, it reminded me. You used to hear more music around here. Do you remember that?
Sure, yeah.
People playing their guitars on the street. You know, these shaggy-looking men. I don't see too many of those around anymore. There is one gentleman has an old plastic jug on a strap, and he drums on that and sings. He's a nice man. I've seen him around. I saw another man once with beads in his hair. He was playing a flute, a Native American wooden flute. That was interesting. You play an instrument or anything like that?
I play the guitar. So there needs to be some kind of protocol in here that gently reminds a person like Holiday of what she's actually accessing. This is, see, I know we've talked about this a bit, but this is what's scary about this, is you're going to have people who don't really understand the concept of this and believe that they're talking to Evelyn. They're not talking to Evelyn. They're talking to an AI. I'm just parroting it. It's the reverse of if I was to hear somebody say something talking to my phone and then put the phone in their room and then the phone says it on my behalf. The phone's the proxy. It's just in the reverse. So she's talking to Evelyn, thinking she's having a human interaction. She is not. So you need to have some sort of protocol with something like that. And this would be a great thing. If I'm a programmer, I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity for that. Essentially, if somebody asks me, the proxy, a direct question like that, then it needs to say, you know, hey, I just want to remind you that you are speaking with an AI that is delivered via proxy to the human sitting in front of you. So I and AI do not play any instruments, though I appreciate your question. What?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't understand the question.
When I was young, my mother had this idea I would play the violin. I have no idea where she got that notion. We weren't a musical family, not at all. I tried it for a while, but of course it didn't work out. The teacher would say, okay, here's how it's supposed to go. And she would play this nice, beautiful melody. La da dee da da da. Okay, now you try it. And then I'd draw my bow back and I'd go. It takes a special talent to make a violin sound like that, don't you think?
Indeed it does.
Isn't that just the funniest thing?
What, bud?
Eventually, my mother realized it was a lost cause and she didn't push me too hard on it after that. I was never too good at anything artistic, just not the artistic type, you know? I think artists have a different mind. You have to be a little wacky in the head.
Oh, that's actually a really interesting question that Eliza would generate there. I mean, I don't think it's like the best question ever, but it's also like, it's pretty interesting.
Do you ever wish that you could be an artist?
No, I have enough trouble already.
Oh, God. Oh, really? We're already in an intervention? You picked up enough there? Feeling good, Eliza? Feeling good about this suggestion?
Holiday, I'm going to suggest you try a program called Dolphin Smiles.
This is so underdeveloped, it's ridiculous.
It may help you take your mind off things. You can find it inside the Skanda Wellness app on your phone.
Oh, my phone broke. I forgot to mention. The screen is cracked and you can't see much on it anymore. I don't know if it would work anyway. A lot of the new stuff doesn't.
That's okay. You can also access the program from a desktop computer. Simply log into the Skanda Wellness portal from the website.
Oh, well, then I'll just have to go down to the library at some point.
That's it, huh? We're just going to completely skirt any kind of issue.
We hope to see you back soon.
Just go watch the
Holiday.
dolphins smile, Holiday.
Thank you for speaking with Eliza, your personal counseling partner.
Ugh.
Goodbye.
That's it. See you later.
Right. Goodbye. Goodbye for now. Take care of yourself. It's a strange world out there.
Industrious veteran proxy. Industrious. Hang in there, friend. Hope this air isn't too dry for you. It seemed like she wanted to tell stories. Maybe it's difficult for her to find people to speak with these days. That's exactly what she said. So it's meaningful for her to have a space where she can talk. Can't wait to see what this says. First, let's just chill out for a second. There's no need to rush into answering your emails. Okay. See this? Who knew this guy was such a pompous ass? He spends like 3 times more space talking about himself than me or my ideas. Haha. Can androids experience happiness? Peter Gerd. 1. Each week, a box containing specially chosen ingredients and a few recipe cards is delivered to my Brooklyn apartment. Hey, mine too. This service I subscribe to offers some limited choice over the contents, but I usually forget to indicate my preferences in time. Me too, which means the meal selections are entirely not my own. I don't mind this, even as the service seems to ship me one artisanal quinoa bowl after another, because it saves me from the effort of having to think about and pick out the items at my supermarket where my eyes would glaze over at mountains of functionally identical apples, potatoes, or eggs. Instead, I simply make what I'm told to make. I have freed myself from the paralysis of choice. Throughout the last century, it's been easy to see what we gain from automating our lives. Tasks that once took active attention are safely performed by machines we set and ignore. The washer and dryer, the thermostat, the floor cleaning robot. Each new invention promised to increase our comfort and erase our worries. Then we began to cede not only mechanical tasks, but also the very work of deciding what to do, what road to take, what foods to eat, what exercises to perform. As the tech world marches inexorably onward, computer algorithms that decide for us have found their way into every aspect of our lives. A few months ago, when I was going through a difficult spell, I made an appointment to speak with Eliza, a counseling program purportedly driven by some of the most powerful artificial intelligence algorithms ever applied to the human condition, which is not saying much. Used by tens of thousands of people already, Eliza's low cost and easy availability brings to mind the troubling idea that psychologists and psychiatrists involved in traditional counseling may soon be in as moribund a career as clerical or manufacturing work. Not with Eliza being the way that it currently is. Eliza itself is pleasant enough. Seated in a darkened room, I spoke with another human being who appeared to be attentive to my all-too-human concerns. This human, however, was only following instructions from the computer program telling her what to say and what to do at every moment of our conversation. Skanda calls these contract employees proxies, though puppets come to mind as a more appropriate term. Throughout our stilted conversation, Eliza kept prompting me based on words in the last few sentences I said, bringing to mind unfavorable comparisons to other virtual assistants on the market today. Is Eliza the sophisticated program it's claimed to be? Or is it more like an automated customer support tool, a product Skanda also makes, dressed up with the rudimentary trappings of elementary psychology? That is too much of a compliment. At a few points in the conversation, I had the sense that I was only paying to talk to a very expensive chatbot, because you are. By the end of the session, I had come around somewhat. I thought perhaps I'd been able to access something within me I could not articulate before. I left the counseling office and with mixed feelings, however. I did feel somewhat better, insofar as describing one's problems to another is usually an effective therapy, indeed. But I was also troubled by the proxy therapist relationship. With her only purpose being following Eliza's instructions to the letter, the proxy, the only other human in the room, had been reduced entirely into a machine. Is that the price of effective therapy made available to the masses? And if it is it worth the cost to our humanity? Great question. One of Eliza's own former engineers has recently come forward to say no. Nora, former senior engineer at Skanda, has lately become one of Eliza's most forceful critics, calling the idea of machine-assisted therapy fundamentally dehumanizing and, quote, broken at its core, end quote. Plavnicki is at the forefront of a small but growing movement of technology workers arguing for certain limits to their own work, based on the promise that certain tasks dealing with humans should never be handled by computers, even if they're enabled by advanced new technologies. Or enabled to by advanced new technologies. Computers make decisions about human life every day, she told me. Our lives are subtly, profoundly affected by these decisions. From what kinds of goods are available to us in store, to what premiums we pay for insurance, to what video starts playing next after one we deliberately choose. It may be too late to turn back the clock on some of those things, but mental health is another decision point, and I think it is a key one for us as a species. Are we really willing to turn over our mental wellness to computers after other things we've given up? It's still within our power to choose to go a different path. Back at home, surrounded by machines developed to free me of the very feelings that seem to hound me more every day, I opened my latest meal kit. It contains instructions and ingredients to make a Mexican-inspired quinoa bowl with avocado, squash, and farmer's cheese. Sounds just fine, I think, and I go bustling around the kitchen, following to the letter the instructions on the glossy recipe card. If that's the article that Ray is mad about, she's got some soul searching to do. Skanda security team. Important notification from Skanda. Hello. A little while ago, we sent you an email with the subject, "How are we doing?" In it, we asked you some questions about your recent experience as a contractor for Skanda and invited you to provide some feedback. We used an external subcontractor to collect and process that data. Unfortunately, we were recently notified that this subcontractor experienced a data breach, and an external attacker managed to get unauthorized access to the survey responses and download them. Your responses and email addresses may have been part of the data downloaded by the attacker. While we do not believe this data is sensitive on its own, we recommend taking the opportunity to check your accounts for signs of identity theft. In positive news, the subcontractor immediately found and fixed the source of the breach to prevent further intrusion. Therefore, please do not hesitate to continue to share your thoughts with us using the survey system. Oopsie! The gym already nags me about not working out. I don't need more of that. It looks like I have another transparency mode lined up. Yay. Wait a second. This is for who I just saw. Did she agree to participate at some point? Well, until we get full confirmation that that is the case, we shouldn't look at this. I hope she understood she was allowing... Don't look at it. Oh, I hate that we have to look at this. You would never look at this. You would never look at this. Until you have confirmation. Even with confirmation, that's really shitty, because I don't know that Holiday even fully understands the fact that she's talking to an AI. Oh, God, I'm so stressed out. Okay. Eight emails, 2 chats. And her phone's broken, right? Oh, no. Greater Seattle Care Network. Register your account. Dear Holiday, welcome. Your general practitioner has added information about your health to the Personalized Health Information Management Console powered by My Health Steward patient portal. Please register for an account to view this information by visiting the site. Thank you. My Health Steward. Account connection. A new connection to Greater Seattle Care Network is pending in your Personalized Health Information Management Console powered by My Health Steward patient portal. Just got to slap the branding on everything. To best protect your privacy and in order to ensure that patient records are being provided only to the individual requesting this connection, we ask that you update your My Personal Information section in the portal with your correct information if you have not already done so, including your first name, last name, date of birth, and social security number. You can then request a new connection by completing the following steps. 1. Log into the Personalized Health Information Management Console powered by My Health Steward. God damn, that's so annoying. Patient portal and select My Account in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. 2. From the drop-down menu, select Connected Organizations. You'll be taken to the Connections Management page. 3. Select the existing pending connection request with Greater Seattle Care Network. Click the drop-down menu to the right and click Delete. Confirm deletion of the pending request. Select Add New Connection from the drop-down menu. Click with Providers and Healthcare Organizations and click the Add Organization button. Oh, I see. Oh, God. In the organization search screen, select by zip code and enter 98121 in the search field. Under distance, select within 50 miles, and under organization type, select hospital. 6. Select Greater Seattle Care Network in the results screen and click Add Connection button. If you do not see Greater Seattle Care Network in the search results, try Medical Center for organization type and search again. 7. Read the release of information notice and click I agree. Read terms of service and privacy policy and click I agree. Read the HIPAA FERPA compliance notice and click I agree. Once you have performed these steps, we should be able to match you to your medical information shortly. Okay, you got it? You got all that committed to memory, friends? Good. Electricity bill overdue notice. Westlake Power and Light. Holiday. Payment of $204.12 remains outstanding on your account. Failure to pay the outstanding amount within 3 days of reminder will result in a late payment fee of $15 being applied to your next invoice. You can pay online or you can make a payment using one of our other payment methods as outlined in our site. If you do not make this payment or if we do not hear from you within 3 days, it is our intention to disconnect the premises associated with this account. Prior to disconnection, you will receive a disconnection warning notice that will let you know when the disconnection is scheduled to occur. Billing services. Oh, Rosewater Hotel and Casino. Special deals for senior VIP members. Get in the mood! Mondays are Senior Appreciation Days at the Rosewater Hotel and Casino. Every Monday, Club Rosewater VIP members age 60 or older receive $10 in Rosewater cash points. Admittance to the buffet for only $15 until 8 p.m. A voucher for one free drink, $1 off toward $5 Keno ticket purchase, and $5 match play on table games. You deserve the full VIP treatment available only at the Rosewater Hotel and Casino. Don't miss out on this incredible offer. Management reserves the right to void, cancel, or alter any promotion at any time. Cool. Willa Durant Crabtree. Help. I'm sorry, Mom. We were really struggling ourselves. Oh, I wonder if she reached out to her child to ask for money. Fortipan HCL. Pay as little as $0 for Fortipan HCL. Take advantage of our new offer and pay as little as $0 for 3 bottles of Fortipran HCL when you fill before January 30th. Dear Holiday. Still suffering from chronic joint and muscle pain? Take action and talk to your doctor about getting a prescription for Fortipran HCL. But hurry, this offer expires soon. Simply show the code below to your pharmacist to redeem the offer. No savings card needed. I hate pharmaceutical advertisements with the most fiery, burning passion you could ever imagine. Pharmaceutical companies should not be allowed to advertise medications to the general populace. The idea that you would go to your doctor to talk about, say, I want this medication, is ridiculous. It's utterly horrible. You have to have a medical degree to prescribe medication to people. So the idea that you just watch a commercial and go, yeah, I want that, and go, it's just the whole thing's backwards, and it's absolutely ridiculous that it hasn't been outlawed. Maximum savings limit applies. Patient out-of-pocket expense may vary. Patients whose prescriptions will be paid for in part or in whole by Medicare, Medicaid, or any similar federal or state healthcare program are not eligible for savings or rebates according to federal and state law. Basically, the people who need the most help don't get it. That's what that says. The actual savings on your out-of-pocket costs for Fortipran HCl will vary according to refill quantity and personal healthcare insurance coverage. Please review the promotions guidelines on the website to learn more. God. Building manager, notice of late rent. Apartment number 608. As we discussed in person earlier today, your rent for the month of January was late, making the third time your rent's been late since last June. Note that a Seattle tenant who habitually fails to pay rent, receiving 4 or more pay or vacate notices within a 12-month period, is subject to eviction. I've also delivered a hard copy of this notice to your door. Bobby. Oof. Eliza program offers a special offer for Eliza clients. Dear Holiday, as one of our most valued customers, we would like to give you the opportunity to participate in a pilot of a new feature that has the potential to significantly enhance the level of counseling you receive from Eliza. This new feature involves voluntarily granting us access to some of your accounts, such as email and chat histories. Information from these accounts is then analyzed by Eliza to provide additional insight into your personality, character, and life situation. The data processed independently of any personally identifying information. That's not true and will never be shared with other divisions of Skanda or any third party, except in the rare event that we are required to comply with a valid subpoena or other court order. For further information, including a helpful FAQ, full terms of service privacy policy, please visit the Skanda support portal. Edwin Park. All right. Really much in there. I feel like I'm invading this person's privacy too much as it is, because you are. I don't think I need to look at this. Zip chat. Paul. Hello from Seattle. Who's this? It's me, Holiday. Oh, how are you? I'm out of money. Probably going to get kicked out soon and nowhere to go. You wouldn't have it in your heart to help an old friend, would you? No response. Willa. I'm here. Are you? I don't see you. I'm by the statue. Which statue? Looks like a lady. There are a lot of statues that look like a lady. It's a cemetery. Wait, I see you. My sense is that Willa is her daughter? Overall, Holiday is struggling. Well, she's not making rent or payments, so she's financially struggling, which I would imagine is not contributing to the greatest mental health in the world, so sure. Holiday is attempting to get out of debt? What the Yeah? I get it. Holiday's efforts to get out of debt are unsuccessful. So far, it seems, as far as I can tell, I agree. Oh.
Hey, Ray, the transparency mode I just did. I think one of our clients is in a really bad situation right now.
Oh, no.
Oh? Yeah, sometimes that happens. People come in and their lives are in a really unfortunate place. It can be hard to see sometimes.
Because it is hard to see. Oh, man. This puts novice, inexperienced, or unthoughtful therapists in a bind when they see this. It can be really hard to see people struggling financially. People who don't have the means to make ends meet. Really, 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 really tough stuff. And it is so deeply important as a therapist, but also just in general, to know and understand your limitations in your ability to assist. A therapist, like, say I had millions of dollars. I don't. Say I had millions of dollars. I have a client who's talking about having a hard time making rent. I can't give that client money to do that. Cannot. If I want to maintain my license, that is. I mean, I could, but then I'd get in big trouble. Those types of things are not permissible. It's really hard. My role is to work with how you are doing psychologically around those constraints, not to remove those constraints with my own money. There are therapists who do this. Not a lot of them. Very, 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 very tiny percentage. But there are some therapists who will feel compelled to do something like this. And you are creating a bit of a dual relationship there. You're creating an unethical bind. And you are moving the therapy outside the boundaries of what the service actually is that you provide, which is why it is wrong. Some people may come back and say, well, you know, it seems like the morally right thing to do to help that person out if you have the means. And sure, but in that context where we're bound by a code of ethics and expectation, and there's a power dynamic, you get way too dicey, which is why these types of things are forbidden. Anyway.
I feel really sad about it for some reason. This person's getting ground down for no reason, just for being in the way.
I'm sorry, Evelyn. There's not much we can do. All of what you learn in transparency mode has to stay confidential. The only exception is suspected child abuse and neglect, which you're required to report if you're a social worker.
What are the ethical implications of working with the client on the financial impact of the therapy itself? That's okay. So as a therapist, if you want to reduce your rate to a sliding scale or go pro bono or something, you can certainly do that. Like if you have a client that's like, hey, I lost my job, my health insurance is going away or whatever, my copay was $30, I don't even know if I can make that. And if you're a therapist, you want to be like, all right, well, you can self-pay $10 or, you know, hey, I'm willing to go pro bono. You can do that. You can, but one thing that you cannot do is you cannot waive copays, which is a trap that some people get into. So if you see clients and they bill their insurance and they have, like, say, a $25 copay, if you waive that copay, you are engaging in insurance fraud. So you have to have a conversation with your clients about that, of like, you know, we can't, because sometimes people, clients don't necessarily suggest this, but sometimes people are like, oh, couldn't you just waive the copay? Like, could you still get paid by insurance and then your client doesn't have to pay their part? No. Holy crap. You get audited by insurance and they catch that, you're in big trouble. So you could say, let's convert you to sliding scale. I can do $15 a session and you pay cash $15 or whatever. So that you have some flexibility to do. But me handing cash over to a client to help them pay their rent? No, absolutely not. Would an anonymous donation work without getting ethically wrong? No, no, because you're still doing the thing. No, those are the types of questions that people ask, which I understand why they're asked, and I appreciate the question, but the answer to that is absolutely not. Because you'll still know that you did it. And then you're doing it for some level of like self-indulgence. And again, you're changing the dynamic of that relationship in doing that. The only reason that person's receiving that money is because they disclosed that they may have needed it or whatever. And that's, it very well could be traced back to you. If that person's not telling anybody that they're struggling financially, they tell their therapist, then all of a sudden next week, a $300 donation shows up on a Kickstarter that nobody knows about. You don't. The best way to avoid ethical conundrums is to avoid them entirely.
But proxies aren't really social workers, per se. Eliza is really the one with the agency here, so, well, it's complicated.
Correct. We're not social workers, but that means you need to have a protocol in Eliza that detects child and elder abuse and makes the report. Because we can't conveniently cherry pick us not being therapists when it allows us to avoid the sticky part of what it is to be a therapist. That's why I hate this entire program. Because, yeah, people start disclosing child and elder abuse, or that gets assessed via transparency mode, And I know that, and Eliza doesn't report it. Is it my responsibility to report it? Depends on the state. Some states, everybody is has duty to warn or is a mandated reporter. Some states, only professionals are mandated reporters. I have to assume, based on what Ray said, that Washington might be one where only mental health professionals are mandated reporters. But yeah, it is complicated in the worst way. And Eliza asked the proxy if its own assessment is correct. Right, which is a problem because Evelyn is not trained to do the assessment. The very fact, this is why we had to have this conversation when I did transparency mode the first time. The very fact that Evelyn is even put in a position to answer those questions in transparency mode is a huge problem because Evelyn does not possess the education or credentials to make those calls.
Probably something for a future court to decide.
Yeah, so we're not going to worry about it. Let's let the lawyers figure it out. Would you consider Holiday to be suffering from elder neglect? No. Not based on what I've seen. No. Refusing to assist somebody financially if they're in debt is not neglect. Neglect would be that Holiday lives at home with a caretaker and that caretaker's not feeding or, clothing or whatever. Like that person is living in squalor and doesn't have the resources to take care of herself or whatever. Refusing to give somebody money when they're struggling is not neglect.
Either way, we can't try to fix people's lives on our own, no matter how much our heart goes out to them.
Yeah, no, just tell them to go fucking look at smiling dolphins.
I think there's an email somewhere with a summary of our policy on that if you want. It's come up before.
No, it's fine. I'm fine. It's just hitting me hard right now.
Of course, because you're an empathic human. And you see struggle and you go, damn, that sucks.
I understand. It takes strength to focus on the role and not get distracted by what you see.
And again, this is the whole problem with the system. Is Eliza is not capable of experiencing what Evelyn is experiencing right now, which is why all of its interventions and responses come off as so hollow. You want your therapist to have some level of this experience. Like, you want your therapist to be like, God damn, that situation sucks. And I want to help in the ways that I can that person navigate it because I can only imagine how difficult it is. Eliza's being so distant is because it's an AI that can't quite track that. It doesn't have like the brain chemistry to read that and share in that experience.
Think of it like, say someone hired you to install something in their home and you walk in on a tense family situation. Even if there isn't actual violence you're seeing, it's clear things are kind of off somehow. It's unfortunate, but there's not much you can do in that situation. You kind of just have to focus on your work and leave.
Except I'm not a plumber. It is true. A proxy is no different in that situation, but that's why we can't keep blurring the lines between what am I. This is the cherry picking that makes things so confusing.
If it's not at the level where you need to make a call to emergency services right then and there, then it's just an unhappy home. And most people would argue it's not your business.
Correct. In the same way that really clients of Eliza's business is not mine.
Sorry, I know that's not the answer you want to hear.
Aw, thanks for patronizing me.
I know it happens that a lot of people live in conditions where I'm just sad. This woman, the way she did 2 whole sessions with me, with Eliza, but didn't say anything about her real problems.
Mm-hmm.
Ray, what am I doing?
She just needs to talk. So this is a common mistake that some therapists make, is that they think they're somehow supposed to go dig at the lower stuff if it's not being brought to their attention. You don't have to do that. It very well may be that Holiday is managing those aspects of her life and the way that she needs to, and she knows that she's under duress, and therapy and social connection is a chance for her to gain a sense of normalcy for an hour, where she has a conversation with a human where that's not the thing that is pervading her consciousness. And that very well could be therapeutic for her. If she says, you know what, I walk away from these sessions after processing what's going on in my life, and I feel so much more empowered to go tackle the bullshit I have to tackle on the day-to-day, then that's a perfectly good use of therapy. So what does she, maybe she doesn't need that from Eliza. Maybe she doesn't need to have some, I mean, what are you going to do anyway? I can't fix a person's financial problems. I can only talk with them about how they're psychologically handling it. Maybe certain decisions they're making relative to that financial distress and how they might make better decisions. But she doesn't have to bring that up to us, especially if it's not something that she deems to be important. And that's fine. We're not going to like pathologize that.
I wanted to make something that would help people. Instead, I made something useless.
Not quite. Guys, it's not this binary. Like, it's helpful in its own way. It's just not it's not the amazing, groundbreaking, blow your balls off technology that everybody wants it to be. It's a little tool that people use in a particular way, and if they had good informed consent around that, then great. It can still, this isn't like I'm not trying to poo-poo this and shut it down entirely. It's just it has to be scrutinized a ton. So it's not useless. If Holiday finds it useful to keep coming back and talking to Eliza because of like whatever it's providing, then that's fine. But no, it's not going to solve those problems. Absolutely not.
You don't think she got some companionship out of Eliza? Sometimes that's really a help, especially for someone who might be feeling lonely.
Correct.
Yeah, but I could have just talked to her. I could have just spoken to her myself. Why would that be any different?
Because that's not what she thinks she's accessing. She's accessing what she believes is a service that comes along with a layer of expertise that can make a difference for her. I mean, it's the same question of like, why would a person seek me out as a therapist instead of as a person? They seek me out as a therapist because they perceive me as having some level of knowledge and expertise and professionalism that I can offer to that space. There's a code of ethics that binds it. And for some people, that's what makes the space. Like for some people, the idea that you're bound by HIPAA and a code of ethics is what allows them the flexibility to open up in the way that they want to, because your friends don't have that. So, yeah, like it's not the same. In the same way that people may not seek me out as a friend, but would seek me out as a therapist. Why am I here in this world? Oh, we're really getting existential, huh?
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing here, or even what I'm trying to decide. Is there a decision? The world is going to be full of grief and sorrow no matter what I do, no matter how hard I try to make it a better place.
Okay, let's maybe slow down a little bit here, Evelyn.
Evelyn, did you think about what I suggested the other day?
What, trying Eliza for myself?
Yeah. I'm not saying it'll magically fix things. I just think you might want to give it a try.
Maybe I will.
Hey, I'm making a dog shit program that doesn't help anybody. I'll give it a shot. Writing on here doesn't make a ton of sense to me, if I'm being totally honest with you.
I don't know why I never did. Even when I was working on it, I never used it. It might have been too obvious to me what it was doing. Eliza is really simple at its core, you know? It just turns things around. It tries to reflect what the person says back at them, pretty much like the old Eliza.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a smoother version of an idea from half a century ago.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you've read that makes it sound fancier than that is just a bunch of academic jargon. It's a mirror.
The thing I like about a mirror is that it has no agenda of its own. It just reflects.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why people pay for this type of service sometimes. Ray gets a distant look in her eye.
Unmisted by love or dislike.
She turns back to me, a small but kind smile on her
Promise
face.
me you'll get help somehow, in some way.
Dude, you don't just...
Okay, Evelyn?
Sorry, I should answer this.
Oh, great. Lovely. This is just who I want to hear about. So what do you think about transparency mode? It's rather dystopian. Thousands of people reveal their most intimate secrets to their therapists every day. This is just a more efficient way to complete that information transfer. Have you noticed how powerful it is? Oh my god, this guy. Eliza is now capable of rapidly analyzing the contents of a single device and accurately inferring the overall life situation of its owner. No, it isn't. It will only improve from there as we add more sources, more patterns to tease out the connections between them all. It turns out anything is possible with enough data. Oh, God. Not sure I agree. Let me amend my previous statement. Anything is possible with enough high-quality data. There's an unlimited quantity of uninteresting information, but a small amount of certain specific data can be almost incalculable value. Telling one from the other is a difficult part, don't you think? There's one more thing I'd like you to see. After that, I'll meet with you in person again. Oh, my God.
Let me guess. Messaging with Raynor again?
Yeah. It's a miserable experience, Ray. Promise you not a thing to be envious of.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt our conversation. I always feel like I have to answer him right away.
You don't.
I would too. Are you kidding? I totally understand.
I guess I'm going to be headed downtown to meet with him again.
Summoned from on high. I have something to ask, Evelyn, and it's okay if you say no, but whatever you end up getting involved in, I hope you'll stay in touch with me. You're a really cool person, and well, that's all.
We'll see.
I hope you find the future you want.
Thanks. Come on. Get out of here. We don't find futures, Ray. We create them. Come on. Oh my God.
Me too, Ray. I really hope
On second thought, maybe don't stay in touch with me. Like, if I said that, I'd be like, you know what? Never mind. We're cool. It's been nice. I wish you the best. Ray nods, but doesn't say anything. I notice her eyes are starting to become watery. She turns away abruptly, heading back toward her office. I hope I didn't upset her somehow. Maybe future Eliza counseling centers could point struggling people to community resources, like therapists and social workers. Yes! Local rent assistance programs, things like that. Correct. Yes. There has to be something we can do. Yes. I wish I'd known more about her situation beforehand. Not that I could have changed anything. She didn't want you to know. Something to see before I go to headquarters again. I wonder what Raynor was talking about. Oh, God. We're going to answer those texts and see Raynor in the next episode. I don't have it in me to see his face in this episode. So, thank you for taking the time to watch this episode and deal with the pain with me. This one wasn't as analysis heavy, I guess, but still a really enjoyable episode. And I'm so glad that y'all are willing to support this playthrough in the ways that you are. Chaotic, thanks for the 7 months. Yeah, definitely need tea before the next one. So please leave a thumbs up and a comment on your way out. Follow the links in the description. If you're binging, I'll see you in the Eliza office, ready to open my phone in the next one. If you're waiting for it to come out, we'll get it out as soon as we can. Sorry, I keep screwing up the numbers on this. Appreciate you. I will catch you on the next one.